get so mad, there's no controlling me. My thoughts get so bad, I'm like, oh God, here goes. I lost all feeling from my head to my toes. You said some shit that I can't let go, so just stay tuned for the rest of the show.
I would like to ask you, in terms of your journey in gaining employment, what kind of discrimination and how was that whole application process for you in being employed?
All right, so it took me about 2 years to get a job. A lot of searching. There's one job that offered me the position. They like loved my resume, said I was like overqualified for the job. I had so many great skills. But they ended up just having me come in and do an interview. But instead of a regular interview, it was just me sharing my story about my disability with the company. It was only a small company, about 7 people, but still, I mean, I'm all about sharing about my disability, sharing my story, but that shouldn't be part of a interview process because it's more about my skills and my abilities than my disability. And I've even had trouble getting a position at a volunteer place where I wouldn't even get paid at all. There was still this, oh, you're amazing, you're great. Well, you'll hear from us soon. But then as soon as you leave the interview, I can imagine they might go talk to their boss or their manager or someone else in the company. And I say, oh, no, that's a liability. We can't help. You can't have that person here. He has too many needs and too many social accommodations. And I would say, like, I'm so happy that I found Amicus because they're a company that really saw my abilities and my skills and were willing to accommodate my disability. Like, to be honest, there wasn't many accommodations I needed. I just needed to be able to have the technology and be able to do my work. And I think a lot of companies out there that aren't as like future thinking as Amicus is they think that, oh, someone with disability wants to work here. That's a lot of work on my end. But what I ended up doing is when I started my job at Amicus, like I gave it 150% because I had worked so hard to get that position, to find a career that I just was so excited and just like jumped right in and just started giving 150%. And I feel like that's what a lot of people around the world with disabilities, when they start their career, they feel like they have to give 150% in order to have their skills and abilities recognized.
You have hit such a pertinent point there because I think this is a thing, and I think I mentioned it because I tend to mention it a lot, that person-centered approach. And I think I mentioned it when we were on a panel together previously, actually finding out what works for an individual in your organization, taking time to actually say, okay, how can we make this happen? How can we get the best out of you? The reward for that organization is your loyalty and you actually wanting to give 150. And you don't need to, right? 100 is enough. But that and just being considered when you actually feel, and we're all human, we all want to be considered. We want our needs to be, and we want to feel like we are wanted where we work. It's such an important part of being happy in the workplace. And I know happiness is not a tangible thing. I'm sure somebody will tell me that. And means different things to different people. But if you don't feel wanted where you're working, you're not going to give that regardless. You know, that creates such a massive barrier. And the fact that they actually took time to say yes. I can only imagine, you know, the struggle that you'd had before, where actually you were probably as qualified as many other applicants. but that fear of the unknown. And actually, what a fantastic employer to take that leap of faith. Actually, something that just came to mind was a David Danto saying, and I know he has many, and I love David Danto, so here's a shout out for David. But David talks about sending the elevator back down. So it's fine to have people in your organization, but also having some planning. And what you talk about careers, what are you doing with those people when you go through that expensive process of recruiting an individual? What are you doing with them when they're with you? And what have you got in place to make sure that that individual can succeed in your organization? And you don't have to be a big multi-million organization to do that. You can apply it to smaller scale organizations as well, if the want is there, if you want to do that for your people.
I'm thinking a big thing, like we always say, we're climbing the corporate ladder, breaking the glass ceiling. But for me, what I need to do it differently, I need to ride the elevator up, and I need people to behind me to help support me and help power the elevator, and I need to be given the equal opportunity to have space in the elevator to rise in my career.
Exactly. And everything you've said, of course, is relevant to people with rare diseases and disabilities, but actually it crosses all areas of discrimination, everything that you've said. And it really does resonate with me for that reason, that actually it's not that an organization has got to behave in one way for somebody with a disability or a rare disease. Actually, if you get it right, if you get your policies and procedures and your day-to-day approach to your employees right, you've got it right for everybody. What would you say to somebody who had a disease or had some kind of barrier that's stopping them, and they're not, they're in that place where you were, those 2 years where you were not getting, the doors were not opening for you? What would you say to them? And on the other side of that, and I think you've already said this actually, what would you say to employers?
I would say to someone with disability that is having trouble getting a job, I would say, first off, I learned that it's not an easy thing for anybody to find a job. And second of all, I wouldn't not give up, because I think overcoming the barriers that you come in contact with, really give you a lot of great experience and help you grow as a person. I know it'll be frustrating, but it'll feel so much better in the end. And you do find the career that you love, and even though it took all that work, you are even happier because you made it to the end and you were successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to employers?
I would say, I think what people say all the time is give everybody a chance. And don't really worry about the unknown. If you're always worrying about the unknown and I don't know what might happen, or make it be difficult, but you will get the most amazing person on your team, because, like I said, when people have the skills and the abilities, I think that's really all that should matter. But of course, give accommodations and make sure that they have all the accommodations that they need, but don't let the worry about, I don't know if I'll be able to handle all that, stop you from hiring them, because people with disabilities like me, we're used to adapting. We know what our needs are, and we're having to work directly with the employer and figure out how to best work every day.
Absolutely. And that whole assumption piece, the amount of times we've heard how to spell assume, it makes an ass out of you and me. Don't assume. Ask the person what works for them, because you're absolutely right. They will know. You know your strategies. You know what works for you. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that that's the only way it will work for you. There may be other ideas that come, and things change, right? But yeah, keeping that, and again, we come back to communication. It's got to be strong.
And I would also say, like, to companies, like, you may think that, oh, a large percent of our company is not disabled, but you don't know how many people might have a hidden disability that's not as easily apparent. Like, someone might have hearing issues, so they need transcription and caption during meetings, or
Yeah.
someone has a mental disability or gets anxiety and they need to work from home because that's where they're most comfortable. Or someone with eyesight issues, like they may need a screen magnifier or some other technology. It's really like, if you have like you said, if you have the policies in place, it's important, but also make sure that when you're creating those policies, that you bring everybody's voice to the table. Because when you have those policies in place and someone new comes in that you don't even know has a disability, they'll be able to reach out and say, oh, I need this accommodation, or I need this tool of technology. And you'll be able to say, okay, we have that in our policy. Here's all our options. Instead of saying, I don't know anything about that. I don't know how we can help you.
Yeah. And actually, you made an important point there. Include the people in making your policies. When you're updating your policies or you're reviewing them, include a wider cross-section of your staff, because that will change from one year to another. People come, people go, and as many voices as you can include in that. How amazing would that be to actually make people feel that they are influencing and contributing to their work, their daily work environment? It's fantastic. That's fantastic advice.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and